The little girl stood alone on the side of the road, soaked by the afternoon rain, hugging a worn-out stuffed rabbit so tightly that her tiny hands had turned white. Cars rushed past without slowing down, people glanced at her through their windows and kept driving, and the storm grew heavier with every passing minute. Just when it seemed the world had forgotten she existed, one exhausted single father carrying grocery bags stopped walking, looked into her frightened eyes, and made a decision that would change both of their lives forever. Before we begin this emotional journey, if you believe one act of kindness can change someone's destiny, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe to Kindness Legacy for more unforgettable stories that restore faith in humanity. Every person in the quiet town of Ashbrook knew Nolan Pierce as the hard-working handyman who never complained even when life gave him every reason to. At 36 years old, Nolan lived in a tiny rented house at the edge of town with his 7-year-old son, Owen, after losing his wife to a sudden illness 4 years earlier. Since then, every sunrise had been another battle. He repaired leaking roofs during the day, fixed broken fences in the evenings, and sometimes cleaned garages at night just to keep food on the table. Bills piled higher than hope, yet he never allowed his son to see the fear hidden behind his tired smile. That rainy Tuesday afternoon, Nolan had just spent almost every dollar he had on groceries for the week. As he hurried home beneath the gray sky, he noticed a little girl standing beside an old bus stop with no umbrella, no jacket, and no adult anywhere nearby. She couldn't have been older than 8. Her blonde hair clung to her face, her expensive-looking shoes were covered in mud, and despite trying to appear brave, tears mixed with the rain rolling down her cheeks. Most people would have called the police immediately and continued on their way, but something inside Nolan reminded him of the day Owen had wandered away at the county fair for only 10 terrifying minutes. He still remembered that unbearable panic. He gently approached the girl, careful not to frighten her, and offered her his old raincoat. She accepted it silently, wrapping herself inside fabric that smelled faintly of fresh wood and engine oil. The child finally whispered that her name was Arya. She couldn't remember her home address because everything had happened so fast. She only remembered getting separated from the people she was with after running after her rabbit when a loud crash startled her. She had wandered for hours before ending up near the bus stop. Nolan contacted the local police station immediately. Officers took Arya's information, searched missing person reports, and checked nearby neighborhoods, but no child matching her description had yet been reported missing. Because a powerful storm had flooded several roads and emergency services were overwhelmed with accidents, they asked Nolan if he could temporarily keep the child safe for the evening until investigators continued searching the following morning. He hesitated. His house was tiny, money was scarce, but he looked at Arya shivering uncontrollably beside Owen, who had already offered her his favorite blanket without being asked. Nolan simply nodded. Their modest home looked nothing like the luxurious places wealthy families lived in. The roof leaked into a bucket whenever it rained. The wallpaper peeled near the kitchen window. Dinner consisted of tomato soup, grilled cheese sandwiches, and apples divided carefully into equal slices so everyone had enough. Nolan apologized for not having much, but Arya smiled with genuine gratitude because it was the first warm meal she had eaten all day. That evening, something beautiful happened. Owen showed Arya his small collection of hand-painted toy dinosaurs. They built pillow forts in the living room, laughed over old board games missing half their pieces, and watched cartoons on an outdated television that occasionally lost signal whenever lightning flashed outside. For the first time since getting lost, Arya forgot to be afraid. Nolan quietly watched from the kitchen doorway. He realized children rarely cared about expensive things. They remembered warmth, safety, laughter, and people who made them feel protected. Later that night, after both children had fallen asleep on the couch beneath the same blanket, Nolan noticed something unusual inside Arya's soaked backpack. There were no toys except her rabbit. No snacks, only a tiny silver bracelet engraved with initials, a small family photograph, and a card containing a phone number unlike any local number he had seen before. He called it. No one answered. He left a short voicemail explaining that a little girl named Arya was safe and waiting at his home. Miles away, inside one of the largest corporate headquarters in the country, panic consumed an entire security command center. Billionaire entrepreneur Victoria Ashcroft, founder of one of America's fastest-growing technology companies, had spent the last 7 hours searching desperately for her only daughter. Arya had been kidnapped earlier that afternoon during a staged vehicle accident meant to target Victoria herself. Fortunately, The frightened child had escaped when the kidnappers crashed during the heavy rain, but nobody knew where she had gone afterward. Police, private investigators, helicopters, and security teams searched every neighborhood across 3 counties. Then Victoria's phone rang. A voicemail. A calm stranger explained that Arya was safe. Within minutes, dozens of black SUVs raced toward Nolan's quiet neighborhood. The following morning began peacefully. Nolan made pancakes shaped like smiling faces while Owen and Arya laughed around the kitchen table. They had no idea dozens of security vehicles were quietly surrounding the street. A loud knock echoed through the house. Nolan opened the front door expecting a police officer. Instead, he found men in dark suits, local detectives, and a woman whose tear-filled eyes immediately searched beyond him. The moment Arya saw her, she ran forward. Mother and daughter embraced so tightly that even hardened officers looked away to hide their emotions. Victoria could barely speak through her tears. She held Arya's face, checking every scratch and bruise before finally turning toward Nolan. She expected someone seeking money or recognition. Instead, she found a man wearing faded work boots, patched jeans, and an old flannel shirt stained with paint from yesterday's job. His first words surprised everyone. He simply apologized because he wished he could have offered Arya a better place to sleep. Victoria walked through the small home after investigators completed routine questions. She noticed the leaking ceiling, the nearly empty refrigerator, the worn furniture repaired countless times instead of replaced, and Owen carefully wrapping the remaining pancakes so nothing would be wasted. She realized something extraordinary. Her daughter had spent one night in a house with almost nothing. Yet she had never been safer. When Victoria thanked Arya for being brave, the little girl gently corrected her. She explained that she had never been scared after meeting Nolan because he reminded her of heroes in bedtime stories who helped people simply because it was the right thing to do. Those words broke something inside Victoria. Years of building billion-dollar companies had surrounded her with people motivated by contracts, profits, or publicity. Genuine kindness without expectation had become incredibly rare. She quietly asked Nolan what reward he wanted. He smiled politely and refused. He explained that if Owen were ever lost somewhere, he hoped another parent would help him too. That was enough. News spread rapidly after police released the rescue story. Television stations praised the mysterious handyman who had protected the missing billionaire's daughter without asking for anything in return. Reporters filled the neighborhood, but Nolan avoided interviews, returning to work the very next morning because overdue rent would not pay itself. Victoria couldn't stop thinking about that humble little house. She ordered her staff to investigate Nolan's background, expecting to discover hidden motives. Instead, they uncovered years of quiet generosity. He repaired elderly neighbors' homes for free. He secretly paid school lunch debts whenever possible. He volunteered at the community shelter every winter despite barely surviving himself. He had never accepted praise. Victoria drove back to his home 1 week later without cameras, reporters, or security surrounding her. She found Nolan fixing a neighbor's broken porch. Instead of offering him money, she offered something entirely different. A permanent position managing maintenance across her company's national campuses with excellent pay, healthcare, housing assistance, flexible hours, and educational benefits for Owen. Nolan stared silently. It sounded impossible. He worried someone more qualified deserved the opportunity. Victoria smiled gently and explained that skills could be taught, but integrity could not. She trusted the man who had protected her daughter when nobody was watching. Months passed. Life slowly transformed. Nolan moved into a comfortable family home where rain no longer dripped through the ceiling. Owen enrolled in an excellent school and made new friends. Nolan became respected by hundreds of employees because he treated every cleaner, receptionist, engineer, and executive with equal kindness. Arya often visited on weekends. She and Owen remained inseparable friends despite coming from completely different worlds. They built treehouses, baked cookies, volunteered together at animal shelters, and reminded everyone around them that friendship never cared about wealth. One afternoon, Victoria asked Arya what she had learned from getting lost. Her answer stayed with everyone forever. She said that expensive houses could protect people from storms, but only kind hearts could make frightened strangers feel at home. Years later, during the opening ceremony for a children's community center funded jointly by Victoria's Foundation and Nolan's volunteer organization, hundreds gathered to celebrate. The building wasn't named after a billionaire. It wasn't named after a corporation. It proudly carried the name The Pierce Promise, honoring one father's belief that helping strangers without expecting rewards could change the world one life at a time. Many families who entered those doors never knew the full story behind the name. But every child who found safety there became living proof that compassion always creates ripples far beyond the moment it is shown. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that kindness still exists in this world, please like this video, share it with your family and friends, leave a comment, and subscribe to Kindness Legacy so together we can continue spreading stories that inspire hope and compassion. Special request. Before you leave, please comment, kindness always finds its way home. Your words may inspire someone who needs hope today. Sometimes the greatest miracles do not begin inside mansions, boardrooms, or banks. Sometimes they begin with a poor single father, a frightened little girl standing alone in the rain, and one simple decision to open a door instead of walking away. In the end, the billionaire gained back her daughter, the little girl found another family who loved her, and the struggling father discovered that the richest people in the world are not those who possess the most money, but those whose hearts remain open even when life has given them almost nothing. That is the kind of wealth no fortune can ever buy.